Everyone. Got a question on one of my previous videos on Foundry where I was talking about how to create characters, about what modules I'm using in the program. What's cool about Foundry is that there's all these community made and sanctioned modules that you can get from the website of the software, and it allows you to customize Foundry pretty much to whatever you want it to do. So I thought maybe I tried to answer the question as to which ones were in the video, but I've got so many modules, I thought maybe I'd just show you which ones I have. I know other people have done similar things. Check out Encounter Libraries videos, they're exceptional. But maybe just seeing mine set up might help some of you, and I'll go through how they work a little bit. I'm not an expert, but it might help some of you who are just starting out. So if you're in the main Foundry window, to get back to your modules, you have to click on Return to Setup. And up here, you'll see all of the different tabs for what you want to do. And to talk about modules, you'd go to Add-on Modules here. And this is where my list of modules are. So I'll quickly, scroll through them here. I have Adventure Music, which just has some free samples of songs that you can play during your campaigns. Ambient Doors, which creates sounds when you open and close doors. Animated spell effects, which allows you to make exactly what it says. Better NPC Sheet 5e, that's something I've tried to use, and I'm not currently using it, but you can take a look at it. It just changes the layout of the NPC sheet to something you might prefer. Beyond 20 companion module. This allows you, if you have any players or yourself that's using DNDBeyond, it allows you to link the information from DNDBeyond to Foundry, and you can actually download certain things. It does require for some of it, it requires a paywall. If you go beyond what the free stuff is on DNDBeyond, you have to actually pay for the Patreon. In my opinion, it's probably well worth it. I actually don't use DNDBeyond much because I'm doing 4E 4E campaigns in 5E, and I'm just basically transferring everything over myself because I don't have a choice. But if you're using main Wizards of the Coast DNDBeyond content, it's well worth it, in my opinion. Combat template cleanup. When you're in combat in Foundry, if people are casting spells, especially with animated spells, there's going to be combat templates that are going to show up on screen. These are like 2x2 squares or circles or beams, whatever you might be using. And this just reminds your players, or asks your players, do you want to clean up their templates at the end of the combat? You just click a button and all of them go away, which I think is fantastic. I don't have to do it as the DM, and they don't have to do it as players. Combat utility belt, a little bit more of a complicated one. I might come back to that one. It has multiple functionalities, so it's a little bit difficult to talk about them all. And by the way, you can just click on these links here by the modules, and that'll usually bring you to the, in this case, the GitHub where the module is stored. That will give you the majority of the information, but I find sometimes there's some missing, and I'll come back to that one when I go back to the regular screen for configuration of these. Conditions for 5e. Love this one. It allows you to actually replace the conditions that come with Foundry with some that are described a little bit better. They actually have like tags showing you what they are. So I really like that one a lot. Dancing lights. You can set up your own lights in Foundry for your dungeons. This allows you to make them flicker and stuff like as if they're flames or torches. So that's a really cool module. Deselection, probably one of the most important ones. In vanilla Foundry, you actually have to, I don't even remember how you have to deselect. If you have a token selected, I think you have to actually click and drag a box, like a selection box, to deselect that token somewhere off of the token itself. This just allows you to click to be able to deselect. I'm hoping that that actually will be incorporated in vanilla Foundry in one of the updates, because it's almost essential to have. Dice tray just puts dice at the bottom of your chat screen that you can actually click on instead of having to type out your dice rolls, which makes it really, really easy. Dice So Nice is a 3D dice app that shows the dice rolling on the screen, and it's beautiful. D&D Beyond character sheet. Some of my players like this character sheet. It actually changes the PC's character sheet to be more like D&D Beyond's. It does take up a lot of real estate on the screen though, but it's a nice one to have the option for your players for. Dynamic effects, I'm still learning a little bit of how it works, but it actually is linked to multiple other modules. And if I get this right, and again, you might want to click on the link and go read it yourself. But if I'm correct, it basically allows certain automation of damage being applied to creatures or characters during combat, so you don't have to manually reduce the HP and stuff like that. I believe it also allows you to create your own attacks and features for your monsters and have them actually change the stats on those effects. So again, not an expert, but I have installed it because it's dependent, or there's multiple different modules to depend on it. Follow me. If you have a character, I have a paladin who can raise dead and actually have followers like zombies and stuff. This just allows you to select both tokens and have one token follow the other one, so that you don't have to move two tokens at the same time. So it can be helpful, but this is one of those modules where I was saying you can customize it to your own game. Forien's unidentified items. Forien actually makes quite a few modules, and I have at least, I think, 2 of them. This is one of the newer ones I've installed. It basically allows you to take an item in Foundry, click on a button that's called Mystify, and it puts a question mark on the item and makes it unidentified. So your characters may not know what it is. You could drop it in their inventory, and they'd have to identify it to find out what it is. So kind of neat. The furnace. You can see some of the things that the furnace does here. This is another newer one that I have put on. Not too sure exactly everything it does, but it does seem to be linked to a lot of other modules. You'll notice it's the author is Kakaroto. I hope I'm saying that right. This is another author that's made some fantastic modules, and some of them are must-haves. GameIcons.net. Foundry seems to be making deals with certain authors, and it's given something like you can see here, 3,800 plus icons from the game. If you don't upload your own art or go and snip the art and actually upload it in yourself, a lot of the art won't be there because like everything, art is probably licensed to certain people, and Foundry can't just give that away. But this company, these are all black and white, and you can have different options as to whether it's white on black or black on white icons that you can put in for those icons. So I downloaded it. It might be useful for some of you. I've used a couple of them. So Kobold Press, again, something that must have been licensed to Foundry to be able to use. Kobold Press releases a bunch of documents and stuff. They could be extra monsters. They could be a lot of different things. So there's that. Look at that. I actually haven't used this as much as I thought I would, where you can press P to pull all players' views to where the mouse is pointed, but I installed it early on thinking that it looked interesting and I wanted to try it out. Loot Sheet NPC 5e I love. This is something that I've downloaded recently. It allows me to put it's a character, which is basically a treasure chest, but I can change the character sheet to be a loot sheet, where characters in PCs in my game can actually click on the token. It opens up this sheet and they can actually loot the sheet. So you can also create merchants, with a whole bunch of items that characters can buy. So it just allows you to some people might not like that because it might reduce the amount of role play going on, but I can see definite uses for it. And the idea of having my characters loot the chest themselves, I find the one time it happened so far, it was quite exciting for that particular character. Free maps have been given to Foundry, so this is some of those maps. Maestro I had installed, haven't actually used it yet. It's based on the sound and playlists in the in Foundry, but I've been so overwhelmed with other things I haven't had a chance to dive into it yet. Mess is a module that is also one that's highly recommended. It's a bunch of quality of life things. It takes care of certain things for you, and I'll probably show you a little bit more of that when I go to the actual settings. Module settings sorter I just recently installed, and unfortunately had to uninstall it because it actually broke the configuration screen for me. So I'm hoping that the author will fix that, because the modules don't come in alphabetical order in the configuration screen, so it's a little bit difficult to find them. So I was really enjoying it, but then all of a sudden something happened and I couldn't click on the buttons in the configuration settings anymore. So found out it was this module that was doing that. So I still have it here because I'm hoping that I'll be able to update at some point and have it fix it, but right now it's not working for me anyway. It might be my system too, who knows. Music D20 sampler is just another bunch of music sampling files that you can use during the game to add some atmosphere, and they're at the moment free, but a lot of these things do have a Patreon, and if you go and support the Patreon you'll get more and more content, so keep that in mind. Pings, love this module. It allows you to click on the screen and actually ping a location. Polyglot, also kind of cool. One of my players liked the idea that if you want to talk in Elven in the chat, everybody can understand it, even if they don't have Elven as a language that they know on their character sheet. But this allows you to actually select the language. It scrambles it for the players that don't understand it, and the GM can always read whatever is being said. Grid scale menu, just installed this one recently. When you're bringing in maps from outside sources, you want to match the grid to the grid in Foundry. This just makes it a little bit easier to do. So I've just recently been trying this out, and it works pretty well, so I actually like this one quite a bit. Search Anywhere, I would say, is a module that you absolutely need. I just installed this one recently, and it basically, with a control click of a key on your keyboard, Control I allows you to search all items, Control T allows you to search all actors. There's other searches as well, but just those two have saved me immeasurable amounts of time already, so it's really, really good. Simple Fog I installed, haven't used it yet. I've taken a look at it. I'm not sure how functional it's going to be for me, but it allows you to manually change the fog of war, whereas in Vanilla Foundry you can just set you can reset the fog of war from the entire map. You can't do it for a specific room. Simple Fog seems to allow you to do that, but I haven't dived into it very much yet, so not sure about that one. Super Homebrew's Compendium is just a compendium of other classes and subclasses. I haven't used much of it yet, but hey, more content is more content. Teleport allows you to teleport tokens between 2 points on a scene. Now I'm using that one, and I'm using Trigger Happy, which is coming up soon. At the moment I prefer Trigger Happy, but I can see where Teleport could be useful for you. Teleport would be more of a GM controlling the teleporting of the tokens of the players. Trigger Happy actually does it automatically, so it's up to you as to how you want to add these modules and use them, right? Token auras allows you to have an aura around your token. So let's say you have a creature that has a death aura of some sort, and you want to actually show it on the screen so that when characters move into it, they know they're in the aura. And it just basically changes, it puts a little square or a circle around your token so you can see that aura. Token info icons. When you click on a token, you can actually see certain settings on it as the GM. So if you want to know the passive perception, for instance, it's written right here. That wasn't in Vanilla Foundry, now it is. So instead of opening up the entire character sheet, you can just click on it to find it. Token mold, very cool. I would say it's pretty much essential. Allows you to do a whole bunch of things with tokens, like when you drag them out on the screen, it'll actually change the numbering of the tokens so you know that it's Zombie 1 or Zombie 2 or Zombie 3, and it just makes things a little bit easier for you and your players to be able to call out which token they might be attacking. Here's that Trigger Happy. Again, if you look at the one of the authors is Kakaroto, like I said, fantastic author. This Trigger Happy, I think I've used the most out of all of them to make the immersion of the game a little bit better. For instance, I've triggered tokens to say like recorded messages to certain players and stuff like that, and it's infinite the amount of things or possibilities you could do with this particular one. Turn Alert, again, probably a very important one to have. It's up to you as the GM, but it actually highlights whose turn it is in the combat order, so that you know exactly which token. It actually adds a nice little animated, almost like a rune circle spinning around the base of the token. So it's really, really nice. Oops, sorry, made a mistake there. My mistake. These two are different. Turn marker is the one that puts the animated token. Turn alert, you can right click on a token in the combat tracker, and you can put an alert saying, like check, do a saving throw at the end of the next round, and it'll remind you every round. So it's actually excellent as well. I would say it's almost necessary, unless you're one of those GMs that can track all those things in your mind. I cannot. I'm getting too old for that. So this is another integration with DNDBeyond. I've already talked about those, so check out Sebastian Will's stuff. It's excellent stuff. Tabletop Assets Iconizer. Again, Sebastian Will, fantastic author, like I just said. This, if you have it set up, it can actually replace those blank images for spells and stuff when you import them from DNDBeyond automatically with a database that you already have. And he explains everything how to do that on his website. So take a look at it. I really like it. Wall height allows you to change. You can draw walls so people can't see or walk through certain areas of your maps. Wall height allows you to change how high those are. I've been playing around with that one a little bit. It seems to work well. I haven't had a chance to deep dive. And then the Foundry Workshop welcome screen is specifically for Forien's stuff. It's actually a welcome screen that comes up and asks you, depending on which modules of his that you have installed, do you want to update them? Do you want to activate them? So it just kind of makes things a little bit nicer for all of Forien stuff. And he's got quite a bit of things. So anyway, let's go back to the game world here. I'm hoping this is not getting too long already, but it might help some of you. Let's go take a look at a few of them a little bit closer. So anytime you install a module in Foundry, you do have to go to the configure menu in the settings up here. So if you go to the game settings, you go to manage modules. This is where you turn them on and off. So you can see that I have most of the ones that we've discussed turned on. There's a couple of them I don't have, like Maestro is not turned on right now. The module settings sorter I still have installed, but I don't have it turned on because, like I said, it broke some of the things in the configuration screen. So if we go to the configuration of settings, right here is where you configure your module settings. So let's talk about CUB, which is the Combat Utility Belt, first. I want to show you something that took me a while to figure out. It might be just because I'm old and not able to figure these things out as fast as I used to be. But if you look here, it says, like I have these checked off, and you can read them yourselves, right? Some of these are pretty self-explanatory, but I got down here and it says enable pan to token, and it says enable the following token panning functionality. There's no following, and if you click on it, it doesn't change anything. So I was a little confused, but if you click on Computer and you click on the little arrow here, if we go to pan select, this is where all of those settings are for that particular, if I'm not mistaken, for that particular button. Okay, so it's not just here, you also have to go in the computer. Now there's some of them that are pretty important. For instance, I can't remember, I think it's the concentrator one. Like if you click on concentrator, so let's go take a look at that one. Like there's actually quite a few settings in here. So it says, like, so when if you play D&D, you know that if a wizard is concentrating on a spell, they can't cast another concentration spell, and if they get hit, they have to do a roll to see if they maintain concentration. This reminds you of that, so I like reminders a lot. But in here, it tells you what are the different options that you can have. So you can notify chat, you can automatically set concentrating if they're casting a concentration spell. You can prompt the player to make the check or not, which I believe that's the one I have checked here. So that wasn't in the, if you look here, that's not here, right? Enable concentration, sure it's on, but what are all the options? So that's what the computer is for. I'm not going to go through all of them because I don't actually know how all of them work, to tell you the truth. But that's one of the main things that the cub module is very, very useful for. Dice So Nice, if you look on here, this allows you to actually change the type of dice you want. So you can change it to dots, or you can change it to the standard. You can change the themes to different colors, and every player has the option of doing this themselves. So, and just to show you maybe another one at the same time, if I go to the chat window, here's the dice tray down here that I was talking about. And I just noticed that it's a little bit cut off on my screen here. But I think you can see enough of it to be able to see what's going to happen. So if I roll a d12, this is the actual coding that you would use in the chat to roll a d12. So this does it for you. You can add a modifier to it if you want. And then Dice So Nice does this. So that is really, oh, that's behind my picture. Let me roll another one so you can hopefully see it a little bit better. So there it is, right? So that is a fantastic 3D rendering of a dice roll. So, so here's Forien's unidentified items. You can open up and change what icon would be shown for an unidentified item. And just to show you what an unidentified item would look like, this is what it looks like here. Okay, and you can peek at it to see what it actually is. So that's what that does. So when it comes to mess, clicking on this button tells you all of the things it can do. So this is where I set up all of my animated spells to match specific types of spells. So an acid circle would always use this spell. You just click on here and go to your animated spell effects, which is something that is also another module which came with some animated spell effects. So what that looks like, by the way, I'll just close this for a second. My paladin here has one of his auras up, and that's what the animated spell effect looks like. And that's just one of the things Mess does. There's, I don't want to go through all of these. You'd have to take a look at them and see what they all do. I don't know what they all do, but at least it gives you kind of an idea as to how it works. Turn marker. So if we do a quick little combat here, to add things to a combat, you just right click after you've selected and you go to this button right here, toggle combat. And then in the combat encounter, so one thing you should all know, it took me a while to figure out, if you right click on something, it'll actually pop out that screen so you can move it wherever you need it to be. Let's roll for all the NPCs, and we'll roll for all of the characters as well. Now you can actually already see how this is going to work because I believe this token right here, that's the turn marker, okay? So that little animated circle around the token will tell you whose turn it is. You can see that it's this character's turn right now. If I begin the combat and then go to the next token, you can see that that's moved. So I really like that turn marker because of that. Okay, so dancing lights, as I mentioned, just allows you to have different types of lighting settings. I'm not going to show exactly how that works. You can go and investigate that. Lights are done with this button here, in case you don't know. So there's a light right there. If you double click on it, you can see the dancing lights configuration. Okay, so you can have it do all types of different things. The furnace. So these are some of the things that the furnace will do, and I'm just starting to understand how the furnace works. I needed it because supposedly the teleporting for Trigger Happy required it. So I wonder if I can show you how that teleporting works. So right here, I have a staircase that's going up to the next level. So I'm just going to pull in a character that I use. So this character here comes with Foundry as a starter character. So watch what happens when that starter character moves through this door. By the way, I wonder if I can, I think this will work. If I click on that door. Oh, it's not working, never mind. I thought I could show you the audio of the door. Anyway, When he comes through the door, I have a tile here that immediately teleports the token to the next level. That's done with Trigger Happy and I believe with Furnace. Very, very useful. I can go back to the first level if I want to. And I have that between all of the levels in the game. So I really like that functionality. And I believe, like I said, the furnace is required for that. Here's Search Anywhere. So just to show you how Search Anywhere works, if I press on Control I on the screen, it builds an index and then I can search for items. So let's say I wanted a sword. Okay, so these are SRD items. Those are the free items that, the free files that Wizards of the Coast released when they first released 5e. So these are all within Foundry. If I wanted a longsword, I would click on Open. And this little icon down here allows me to drag that item into a character sheet. So I'm not sure what his inventory has, but notice he has a dagger and a rapier. I can drag that in here, and now he has a longsword as well. So that's a really, really good module to have. Oops, wrong button. Teleport does a different type of teleporting. I'm not going to get into that one because I've actually gone more towards the Trigger Happy, but basically what it does is it puts a little staircase that is a teleport. You can link it to another staircase, and then you as GM can teleport tokens. There might be more functionality than that, but that's all I know at the moment because I've started to use Trigger Happy a lot more. Dynamic effects, so here are the types of things that dynamic effects can do, and again, I'm not an expert on that one either, but I know that it is required by certain other modules, so I put it on and I'm starting to look at it. I'll show you where I think dynamic effects would come in for you as the GM. If you go to any kind of item and you go to right here, there's an effects. As far as I know, and I could be wrong on this, I think that's a dynamic effects menu that was put there. This is not part of vanilla Foundry, I don't think. And you can actually put like equations and stuff as to what is being affected by that specific item. So don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I'm still kind of learning this on myself, but I think that's where dynamic effects kind of comes in most of the time. Loot sheet, NPC. So to show you that, so I had a chest in this room here. It's been looted, so there won't be anything in it. But when I click on that chest, this is just a character sheet, okay? And where you change the sheets is here. You'll notice that this has 3 different sheets here. So actor sheet 5e, I could save the configuration. It changes it back to that. But if I change it to the loot sheet NPC, it becomes this kind of sheet. And you can change whether it's a loot or a merchant. And you can add who can open it. So if you don't want everybody opening it, you could just unclick to change their permission settings. There's 3 different ones, so they can see what's inside, but they can't access it, or they can access it. So you could actually do this on the fly when a character is about to open it. Just give that character access to it. So the only thing that happened is my character wanted to loot it without telling everybody what was in it, and it ended up happening that it showed it in chat. So I don't know if there's a way of fixing that. If there is and somebody knows, please let me know, because I'd love to know that. So that's loot sheet NPC. Iconizer, I may not be able to show this to you. Let me see here. Okay, not sure why I can't click on those guys right now. Anyway, if you had a character open, I wonder if I can go back to this guy. There we go. I might not have been double clicking fast enough or something there. So these are the icons, right? Like the dagger has an actual picture of a dagger. But if you make your own, let's say I made my own loot. So you get what's called the Mystery Man icon showing up. What Iconizer does, I bet you this is not going to work because I'm actually trying to show you. But if I go to edit item and I change it to sword, well, what's supposed to happen is it would actually go and search the database for sword and change it to that. But like, oh, there we go. So that one worked. Okay, so maybe sword's not in the database. Long sword probably is, but it automatically finds it. Now, I am using instructions that were given with this module that suggested you go and download a bunch of icons from another website. So that one probably doesn't look like the one that comes from Foundry. And they were free icons, so it's not like I was breaking any laws by downloading them. So anyway, that's what that one does. The Foundry welcome screen, I'm not sure if I can actually show that to you. Anyway, that's the one that Forien created that basically comes up on your screen and asks you what you want to do with your modules and how many do you have active and do you want to activate them and stuff like that. Dice tray I've already shown at the bottom of the chat menu, which is these little things here. It's a little bit cut off. There is a D20 and a D100 at the end of that, but you can see enough of it to see how it works. Polyglot. You can actually already see, I believe. Oh no, you can't. Never mind. So how would polyglot work? So let's say I select the token. I'm already selected on them. I'm not sure what languages this thing has. Let's go find out. So Geronimo can speak in Elvish. So if I choose to, but as GM you might not be able to see this. Let's see what happens. If I go yeah, you it's not coming up. Oh, because I have it set to common right now. Let's change it to Elvish, see what happens. Okay, still because I'm GM, you can't see what it looks like. I wonder if I went to another token that doesn't understand Elvish. Let's see this one here. Yeah, I can't show it to you because I'm GM and I'm not. Anyway, it would show up as a bunch of gibberish or runes, if you will, so that only people that can understand that language can see it. But as GM, I don't think it works. I can see everything. This little icon here, the world icon, is what you would click on to be able to decipher what's being said. That's the only issue I've had with this, though. Like, I would think is if I was speaking in Elvish with that character, I wonder if I have to do... you know what, I'm not going to bother. There's a way of speaking in character, and I can't remember what it is right now, so I'm not going to bother looking it up, but that's what that one does. It's actually pretty cool when the PCs are doing it. Ambient Doors allows you to hear the doors open and close when you click on it. I tried to get it to work, and for some reason it wasn't working just 2 seconds ago. You might have been able to hear it, and maybe I couldn't, because I don't think I have my sound on in my headphones right now. Beyond 20 Companion Module. So this is something you have to look into because you do have to download another Chrome app to get it to work, but that allows you to bring in that DNDBeyond stuff into your Foundry. Look at that. Look at that allows you to ask players to all look in a certain space. So if I click on a spot, I believe it's P. I don't remember how to even work it. I don't use it very often, so I'm not sure exactly how it works. It might be Control P maybe. But ping, if you hold your mouse button down for a little while, and all players can do this. That one I think is essential when you're playing online, so other players can see what you're pinging to. There's a bunch of different options for that one. Follow me is if you have two. I don't remember. There we are. You have two tokens and you want one to follow the other one. I believe you select both tokens and right click, and then right here it says start following that thing. So now when I move this token, the other token follows along with it. So that's a pretty cool one, like I said, for the reasons earlier. So here's another Beyond DNDBeyond integration thing. So yeah, and I believe that's it for the settings. The rest of them, oh, token mold. If I go to the characters, here's where token mold stuff shows up, and here's where token mold settings are. You can't see it. There's a little gear right next to the overlay stuff here. If I click on that, that's where the token mold things are. And here's where you can control like the numbers that come up. You'll notice that this, and I always mess up the pronunciation of this, Sahawagan is how I say it. Raider has a number 1. If I put another one out, it would have a number 2. And you can change whether or not those are going to be shown, by the way. So you can also display, you know, the name of the thing to the PCs. I usually don't, because I kind of like it to be, unless it's a minion that's going to be killed really quickly, I don't necessarily want the names of the creatures out there. So the stat overlay, I thought I had that activated. So this is what your attributes and stuff will look like. So you have to be careful. It is a little bit tricky to find the one you're specifically looking at. So abilities, you know, you can read what they are there. But let's say I wanted the, I think that's AC. I'm not sure what that's going to do. Anyway, if I go over one of my actors, this is where it shows me their speed, their armor class, and their passive perception. So that's an overlay that came from one of the modules. So I feel like I've given you a pretty quick but good rundown of all the modules I have and kind of what they do. So if you're wondering what kind of modules to get as a starting, you know, as you start foraying into Foundry, that might give you an idea as to which ones some of us beginners, and I mean, you're going to want to have them all because this is such a cool software, but some of them work better than others, and they really, you can tailor them to your own needs, which is, I think, one of the best selling points of the software. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry if it's too long, but it's the only way that I could show you everything and how it all works. So if there's anything I missed, please let me know. I was getting excited there to show you some of the things, and I might have forgotten to show some of them, but let me know. And there are quite a bit of resources out there on the authors' GitHub pages themselves. Some of the authors have their own web pages. The Discord for Foundry is amazing. You go in there and you can ask for help. Just don't make the mistake I did and ask directly to Kakaroto for some help. You have to actually find which channel to be in and just ask a general question. And sometimes the authors will directly answer you, but don't ping them directly. It's bad form. Yeah, I hope this helped a little bit. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll talk soon.